It was cold, dark, and wet. The rain trickled into a bucket I had placed at the base of a nearby dumpster. After a lifetime of fighting and war, this was my life now. Homeless on the streets of the great city. I was stuck in this forsaken loop of rummaging for scraps and crumbs, anything that would keep me at the edge of life. The worst part of all of this was that I couldn't speak about my past. Everything was or is sealed off. Now I'm out here roaming around, looking for something to remind me of the way it was. I wanted to speak about it, but nobody out there is someone that I can trust to tell. If I tell the wrong person the wrong thing, it could lead to some really bad things. I finally decided it was time to leave this forsaken city. With all I know and nobody around to tell, I will take my skills elsewhere. I will leave this city and start a new life, a new adventure, within the secrets this whole world's deep within its center. It was mid-afternoon when I gathered my things. Bucket, a shovel, and some clothes. It was about all I had left. I left for the edge of the city and climbed to the mountains. It was easy to leave because there was nobody to say goodbye to, because I had nobody. Once I reached the edge of the city, I headed west to the mountains and caverns. There was something about that part of the world, the forests and the mountains. They had a sort of life essence to them. I traveled for days across the plains and the lakes. I made it, finally. I had reached the mountains. All I had left to do was to scale them. I thought to myself that to scale these mountains would take almost an entire lifetime. I decided the only option was to go underneath, to the depths of the world, to make it to the other side. I found an opening in the earth that I could descend. I had no rope, so I had to risk it. I dropped a small stone down the dark hole and listened. I heard it hit close to 50-ish feet down, but it sounded like water, like deep water. So I threw my belongings down the hole and heard the water hit once again. I took a deep breath and jumped. The drop felt a lot longer of a fall than I had originally expected. I hit the water and almost passed out from the impact, but nothing was broken. I swam to the bottom and found my things. I took a flare and lit it. I found a small ledge of damp land. I left the water and started on my way. It felt like I had been walking for hours and miles. My flare started to go out. I was in the dark. I had to be cautious of where I was walking. Any second there could be a drop or something I can't see that causes my inevitable death. Suddenly I found something that was soft, but not like fur. It was more like a sheet of vines. It almost looked like there was a shimmer of light between the gaps. Pushed my hands into one of the gaps, pushed aside the vines to reveal a world unseen. It looked as though the sun had shone through the earth and lit up this cavern, allowing for the water to run through and create plant life for the creatures of the cavern to thrive in this new environment. The creatures seemed to just float by, not noticing me. Started walking through the cavern, admiring the scenery and the new animals that seemed to have never been discovered. In this new world, I felt more welcome than I did in the upper world. The creatures seemed homely, welcoming, and oblivious to the fact that I was new in this unknown world. Suddenly, I became a bit nervous and had a strange feeling. I heard rapid thudding behind me, and I became more nervous. It got closer and louder. I turned. It stopped right in front of me. Well, they stopped in front of me. A group of a sort of goblinoid creature stood there. I was getting ready for a sort of welcome when they started chanting. This made me extremely nervous. I backed up slowly, which they did not like, and as soon as I started running, they took off right after me. They chased me through this world, through forests and smaller caves. Eventually, I stopped running when I came to a cliff. It was solid ground at the bottom and too far to survive a jump. They had me backed into a corner. I had nowhere to go, so I had to try and fight them. I backed up more, waiting for them to come to me. I walked too far back. I looked back and saw only the edge. They rushed me. I slipped, fell backwards. Right before I hit the ground, my vision went black. I waited for the impact, but it never came. I opened my eyes. The sun was breaking, the sky open with light. The bucket I left next to the dumpster was nearly filled, and the rain had stopped. There were a few rats fighting over a scrap of French fry at the other end of the valley. I'd realized what it was. Nothing but a dream. I got up off the ground. I grabbed my bucket, went to my spot behind the dumpster. I tried to remember the way it was.